Hello, everyone. It's Elizabeth Rose, and we're in the final countdown to TRID. It happens Saturday, October 3rd, and we're ready. How about you? Well, I hope you're ready. And I've been hearing out in the field that there's a lot of questions, a lot of concern, confusion even. So I want to clear up a couple of things. It seems like most of the concern does revolve around a potentially missed closing date. So let's talk about what would affect a closing date and why a closing date would be missed due to this new rule of TRID. With TRID, as you know, the HUD-1 settlement statement has been replaced by a closing disclosure, also known as the CD. The CD must be delivered to the home buyer 3 days prior to consuming the loan. So here's what that means. If your loan closes on Friday, then the closing disclosure must go out to the home buyer on Monday preceding that Friday. They must have it and they must acknowledge receipt of it, which is something us lenders are going to be staying after them to make sure that they open their email and click the button to acknowledge receipt. So you don't have to worry about that because we're going to be on top of it. And then once they've done that, the clock starts and their 3-day waiting period begins. Then they can close on Friday. So what are the things that could potentially delay that closing once the closing disclosure has gone out? Well, there's only 3 things really that would affect that. One of them is a change in program, and it's highly unlikely that anybody would be changing loan products at the time, the week of their closing. That should have occurred weeks ago, early in the transaction, if for some reason the borrower changed their mind about how they wanted to do things, or if there was something pertinent to the transaction that required making some changes in the way the loan was structured. So that should not come into play for you at all. The other one is a prepayment penalty. Well, quite honestly, I'm not sure if there's a loan out there that has a prepayment penalty anymore. Those went away right after the mortgage meltdown, so they've been gone a long time. And then the third piece is a change in APR. This does happen. It happens in today's environment. And in today's environment, we do have to redisclose. The only difference here is going to be that this is occurring at the tail end of a transaction and they have to wait 3 days. So a change in APR by 0.125% would trigger a redisclosure event. In the event that fees change, and not all fees factor into an APR, but if any fees that are APR fees change after the closing disclosure has been delivered, then a new closing disclosure would have to be prepared and delivered, and your home buyer would have to wait the 3 days again before they could consume the loan. Something to be mindful of as well is if your home buyer has locked their loan and the lock is going to expire on the day of closing or the day after closing, if you miss the closing date and the home buyer has to extend their lock, there is a lock extension fee cost, and that fee does factor into APR, so it could potentially affect your APR, which would trigger a redisclosure, and it would trigger another 3-day waiting period before you could close that loan. So that would probably be the only real gotcha that would possibly creep up and bite you. And so we just need to be mindful of that. And as lenders, we too need to be mindful to make sure that we allow enough flexibility in there should perhaps on the day before closing, you go through a walkthrough, some things aren't finished, and the seller or the buyer says, hey, I don't want to close tomorrow because this isn't finished and I want to wait. We just need to be on top of our game to make sure how that's going to impact them, and is it going to push out their lock, and what we need to do to make sure that we don't trigger a redisclosure event where they have to wait even longer. I hope that clears some things up for you. But of course, if you still have questions, I invite your feedback, your comments, and your questions, and would be happy to talk through any of this with you and address it with you. So please just send me an email or send a text message or pick up the phone and call. We can actually talk. I enjoy doing that too. So anyway, let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you on the other side of TRID. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.